Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry channel, and with me tonight are Minions 3, Serenity Star 13.
Hello!
DrFunctional.
We got him, boys!
And SkepTok.
Hi, everybody.
Let's see where to begin. Let's begin with DrFunctional, whose mic is just firing on all cylinders tonight.
Sorry, I was being a little loud, which is
no,
good
it's
because
it's
I'm normally quiet. Yeah, but we got him. We got him. The hero everybody needs is come back to the United States.
What on earth are you talking about?
Yeah, who are you?
They brought back Kilmar Obrego Garcia.
They brought back mostly peaceful Maryland dad. Or where is he from? Maryland man.
Yeah, because he was trafficking.
Well, that's why I'm excited, because the indictments, all the information's coming to light, and oh boy, the leftists are like, oh, well, he was just a taxi service for construction workers.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, okay. Just keep digging that hole, and I'm all for it.
It's like, yeah, let's make it so we can build the case better to send him back there even harder. Like, way to go, morons.
Yeah, not that the case unto itself was like very interesting to me. It was just, I love anything that makes the idiots in politics reveal their true colors even more.
Valid.
Yeah,
Absolutely valid.
I don't care what side it is. If they end up looking even more stupid, hallelujah, thank you.
If you look stupid, me gonna laugh at you.
and I even remembered to make you guys visible so people can see your little avatar-ness.
Hi, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, Harry.
What? Yeah, so functional. I went to the restaurant supply today, and oh god, meat is
I
so
like it when the sentence starts with, I went to the restaurant supply store today.
Well, I was nerding out a little bit about red meat. Okay, so I decided I'm going to get some skirt steak, because when I go to the regular market and they try to charge me $19 a pound for skirt steak, part of me wants to scream a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I just like, I don't want
$19 a pound?
Yeah. Well, because there's inner skirt steak and there's outer skirt steak, and one's a little better than the other, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to get into a discussion of butchering meat, but skirt steak is delicious because it's got great taste. You just have to cook it right, cut it right. It marinates beautifully. It's basically what carne asada is made out of, right?
Right.
So
yes, exactly.
You know, you can Texify it, you can Mexify it, you can Eastify it, you can do whatever you want to it. It's a great piece of meat, but it's not $19 great.
Make it I've done skirt steak with London broil.
Yeah.
And done it like London broil, just like it.
Yeah. Marinate it in some olive oil and some garlic. I mean, you really can't go wrong with skirt steak as long as you don't undercook it and you don't slice it
in the refrigerator
and you don't slice it with the fibers. Yeah, that's bad. So I got it for like $8.60 because I'm not paying $19. So I've got that, and I've got a whole giant primal cut of ribeye steaks lip on. So I've got some serious butchering I need to do tomorrow.
I'm truly jealous because, as I told you guys through the week, Canadian food prices are just out of control. Like, inflation was one thing, but we went to the grocery store, and I went to the grocery store, and T-bone steaks were $50 each. $50 for a single steak.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
yeah.
a lot.
I know your money's not worth as much as our money, but even adjusting, that's bad.
Yeah. Which even like with the increase in prices, the week previous, it was like 24, 25, which is still outrageous, but I mean,
that's $36.
Sorry, 34, 35, not 25. Yeah. Sorry. And so for it to jump week to week up to $50, like that's
dude, seriously.
$36 American.
You honestly shouldn't be paying that. If your government would just, I know they're not going to do this, but if they would just stop being ridiculous and make friends with Trump, we would send you from Nebraska beautiful American beef.
Tons of cattle up here.
We could send you well, then why is it so expensive? What possible reason is there for it to be expensive?
Oh, I don't even know the intricacies of it. I do know that
I know.
that because the outcome of our last election, federal election, in which the NDP, the third party, always sort of aligned with the Liberal Party. So, long story short, there's a minority government of the Liberals, but they have no support this time. So we might be able to get a vote of no confidence and have to have another federal election this year, which is kind of unheard of in the case of, any sort of first world government to just immediately have another call to election for just this type of thing, this gross negligence on the behalf of the government of mismanaging our money supply and interest rates and all the other shit that they really shouldn't be messing with. But, we'll see. Maybe I can afford steak by the end of the year.
The problem is they can't afford to feed the cattle. You know what
that's the other thing
because of the drought over in Saskatchewan and what's that other one? Not British
Manitoba?
Columbia. No. The one where the rodeo is, where Edmonton is.
Alberta?
Yeah, that one. One of those future states. They are paying $250 for a bale of hay.
That's
fucking grass, dude.
Yeah, it's just dried grass. It's
not, but I understand what you all are getting at. I understand.
I'm using slang very
know.
well that I can lecture you on hay types, different hay baling situations you can do. But the point is that it's become prohibitive because they can't get food supplies for their herd, so they've had to downsize their herd. That's why your costs have gone up. That really is what is happening.
This is depressing. I start out with my victory over expensive meat, and I'm talking about steaks and stuff, and now I've made functional sad, and we're about to start an international incident. It's just, this is not good.
Secret, Harry. I'm always sad.
There you go.
The good news is when the drought eases, they will go back down. A lot of this you'll get back, guaranteed.
I hope so, and I also hope that
they make so much money when they sell cows.
Yeah, we subsidize our agriculture up here.
You do. Yeah,
you
absolutely do.
But it's you made a snide comment of like our future state, and it's like, I could actually get behind separation if they allow people to migrate and be like, do you want to be part of Alberta and be, join the United States? And be like, yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah. There's like a certain time period that like you have this long to decide if you want to stay or not, or go to it. If you then you get free reign, border essentially air quotes closes, and you're part of that.
Yeah.
If you wish to go back, you're going to have to go through the regular process.
Channels. Yeah.
We just have a big, beautiful immigration system.
There you go.
Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
Well, it's good to have you back now that technology is on your side. Last week, technology was not on your side, right?
It was spiking so bad. Like I was going from my 300 megabytes a second all the way down to 1 kilobyte a second. And it was changing like every 60 seconds. And I'm just like, the fuck?
Yeah, there's not really a codec out there that'll give you 8 kilo. No, that's not going to happen.
And the funny thing is that the upload would be the complete opposite. So if the download was down real low, the upload was high, and then they would flip, and then they would flip, and then they would flip, and I don't know what the hell was going on. I checked my modem. It's not my modem. I checked my router. It's not my router, and it fixed itself. So it's something that was down, probably down at the node or the blade or something like that.
You're using cable?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, kind of.
I'm hardlined into the router that's hardlined into the modem.
But it's cable mode. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Not fiber. Got it.
No, God, no.
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea what was going on, but luckily it's somebody else's problem to fix it, and they fixed it, which is good.
The amount that would cost to get a fiber line out where I live would be about $15,000, and they'd make me cover it.
Well, if you have a slingshot, just do it the ham radio way. Just actually, when guys go out, I mean, Skep knows about this. When guys go out and you have to set up a radio somewhere where there is no radio, right? You bring your equipment. You get a bunch of old guys with suspenders and beards, and next thing you know, they've got slingshots and slings and stuff, and they're they're running lines up into trees to get the altitude and the distance. There's things one does when you have to set up radio in the field.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Never underestimate the power of like an old guy wearing suspenders.
I love good old boys.
Yeah.
Good old boys are the best things on the planet. I adore them.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to make it this time because all these technology problems are bad. And Sora's still on vacation. So, but if she was here, she would probably miss it anyway because her technology would be broken. They seem to have a lot of trouble with the internet in Canada sometimes.
Well, she'd also probably be crying about the food prices too, the way Functional was. It's like, it's this much money. She's going to have a heart attack when she comes back from Europe.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be quite the little sticker shock, right? She's going to be like, I wish I'd eaten before I got on the plane.
I wish I'd like hidden it into my shirt or something like that.
She could just be like a giant Canadian squirrel and just like, just put bunches of food in her cheeks when she gets on the plane. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
allowed,
I don't
have
right?
anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just obese in the
head.
Yeah.
I'm just obese through the face. It's fine. Just go ahead.
That's right. I got beef cheeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
judging me? Are you fat phobic? Get away from me.
Anything you would like to share before we delve into the glorious spreadsheet?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty low-key night with the three of us, but that's actually okay.
No, give Functional and I enough time. We'll find something to get pissed off at.
Well,
honestly,
4 of us.
Let me see. Looking at the spreadsheet, is there anything here that's going to piss anybody off?
We found stuff before. Well, I don't know why you're acting like this isn't going to happen.
Well, I don't think there's anything here that's particularly provocative. I'm going to tell. We're going to all give Skep credit. Oh, you might disagree with me about one thing. Okay, there's a few things here where I might split the room. It'll
give
be
Skep
fine.
Credit for what? Give Skep credit.
Well, when I say, then we'll immediately go into that conversation. So I'm going to wait until we have Skep here. Hi, Skep.
There we go.
Do you want to greet our chat?
I would love to.
The very fine people in chat.
Yes.
Very fine. People.
Most is finest.
That is not a hoax, believe it or not. Is me trying to find.
Oh, I think maybe I can do it. All we have in chat right at the moment is nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing to see here is here.
Hey, nothing.
Not that
Everyone
isn't.
else is lurking. Everyone else is lurking. I see the watch numbers.
Yeah, not to say that nothing to see here. We already have an abundance of riches just with that one visitor, right?
Absolutely. We have 100% of our audience in one convenient package.
Exactly.
And there's I've known nothing for God. How long have we known each other? 7 years now. There's a lot to see there. If you get to know nothing, nothing's pretty cool.
Does he have a brother that goes by the name Move Along?
Exactly, citizen.
Oh.
So, yeah. By the way, I just wanted to announce we have picked our carrots, and we're going to pick the corn tomorrow. And we have a tremendous harvest of carrots, potatoes, and already in and
nice.
The corn is just awesome. We will harvest well in excess of a bushel of corn. Probably more than about 3 bushels of corn. No fooling. It's going to be a pain in the ass actually giving it away, but freezing as much as we can and give the rest away. But it's big fun. That's big doings around here. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's get the obvious out of the way. Now, we have to give Skep credit. Not that this required Karnak the Magnificent level of precognition, but Skep actually came out and said that when we didn't end up actually saving a bunch of money in the government, Elon was going to get pissed and the Elon Trump thing was going to fall apart. I remember you saying different words, but you said it. We all agreed. Okay. Yep. But you were the first one to like go on record of us and say, this is a thing that's going to happen.
End well.
Right.
This is just not going to end well. This thing's going to fly apart. Right now, there's a community of interest, and these are 2 powerful rivers driven by forces that aren't in their own will, and so it necessarily will involve them parting. It's liable to be ugly. That's always what I've thought.
Well, I can see one of the things that I was going to show is already not available, so that's fun. So we can
Well,
go with.
he also seems to be memeing a lot too, which is like he's making joke meme tweets. So I don't know what his damage is.
What's his
Why is
I
it
kind
trying
of
to
don't
make-
buy it.
I don't either. Something doesn't feel right. Something smells off. I don't know what it is.
I think, I mean, his as in Elon's
Yeah.
tour of duty, so to speak, to be sort of like the waste auditor in chief, was over. The damage to his companies is ongoing because of the insane leftists and stuff. And so it seems to me like it was sort of like, okay, now let's put on a little bit of theater. Let's, make it look like it's a bit of an ugly breakup. I do think that there is some legitimacy that, Elon's kind of like, yeah, but you're putting some waste into this big, beautiful bill. What are you doing? Kind of thing. Like, I do think that there might be some legitimacy there, but I think I think it's blown out of proportion. And I think it's also in part to help him save face. Now, we'll obviously see if he starts funding Democrats or whatever, or if he's in politics at all, or if he retreats back to his businesses and just says, I'm just going to stick with this. I've done my foray into politics. And so we'll see. But yeah, for the moment, it does look like Skep was completely right.
It does look that way, doesn't it?
You shall see.
It's also Elon not fully understanding politics because politics are never going to be allowed to be run like a business because the people controlling it aren't going to let it. So it's lovely he wanted to cut, but it's like that was never going to fully happen. Their sugar.
You're absolutely right, Serenity. You nailed it right on the head. Think of what he would have said if you said that to him. What do you think Elon would say back to you? Let's change it. Let's change it.
Yeah, or he'd tell me to get effed.
So I have
no. I'm seriously what he
terms.
would come back with is assuming he came back with a constructive suggestion. That's what he would say.
I have a question for you guys. So, and it doesn't matter a lot. It matters a little bit to me. Okay. So, did we, in terms of this big beautiful deficit that we've got, because I think it went from what, 2 trillion to 2.5 trillion in the big beautiful bill. Did we actually, are we incurring that because of tax breaks primarily, or did they actually increase spending? Because I think if Elon, at great personal expense to himself, tried to cut the federal budget, and then not only did they take that savings and just move it into like the military or something, but then added more spending on top of it, I can see where he might be justifiably a little pissed off. So did we actually just increase the deficit because of tax cuts, or did we also increase spending?
I mean,
how much did the deficit go up by?
Well, it went from what, 2 to 2.5 trillion per year?
So it went $0.5 trillion up.
Okay.
Yeah. What's 500 billion between friends, right?
25%
of
our budget goes to service the debt. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. That's all that's happening.
We can get a reverse mortgage on the North Dakota.
A zero coupon bond.
No, but I'm serious. Did we also did we move the money around, or did we also increase spending? Because you can assess the level of the dysfunction by that one measure, right?
I don't have a readout.
I was going to say we're going to have to wait. Yeah, we're going to have to wait till there's an actual, not a full itemization, because I don't think we're ever going to get that, but until we get more details. Like details, not BS details.
Yeah.
Well, just understanding how budgets and appropriation stuff like that works, how funds get appropriated. Funds get appropriated. It's not like they flash out and are spent right away.
Yeah.
They get set aside, and then they go through this sludge-like thing that I would describe. It's very much like the movement of food becoming something else through the intestine. And it slowly slogs its way through the thing and finally gets expended. There's an expenditure justified, and it's accounted as having been spent. And so, since the rate of digestion of different programs is different, it makes it very hard to say you've increased or decreased any net thing unless you can just take a snapshot of each one, which is basically what they do. and
Yeah.
that's how they get that metric.
Yeah. It's just, it's like anything, this is gonna take we're gonna have to wait a little bit to see how everything kind of diversifies out
Yeah.
before we know any concrete thing. It's the reason why I'm not making a comment on the big beautiful bill, because I'm like, I have to see it in actual practice before I'm gonna make a comment on it.
Yeah. Well, there are numbers that we do know. One of them is going
Yeah.
to be tax revenues.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to give the most sympathetic interpretation of this possible to Donald Trump, okay? So let me be as nice to Trump as possible. This is going to be my attempt to be intellectually honest, because I'm kind of pissed off with Elon on this one, okay? So Trump was probably had Besant whispering in his ear about how they were going to lose the midterms and stuff, and that they couldn't cut government spending now, and that the tax cut was going to stimulate the economy, and then we would grow ourselves out of this new debt. That's probably what they said to Trump. And Trump probably fell for it. And Elon is pissed at himself because he believed what he was told earlier on. So he's mad at himself. I've been in that position before. You're mad at yourself for believing in something. And he's probably also mad because he, the great personal expense that he gave. He lost he lost billions and billions of dollars because of his participation in Doge. Right? I mean, so he has every right to be pissed off because he feels betrayed by himself and by others, and he feels like he was lied to. And Trump, in his defense, probably was told by people that he trusted that if he didn't go, that if he took his foot off the gas on the government spending and backed off on the tax cuts, that bad things were going to happen. That's what I think happened. I mean, I still have a modicum of respect for both of these people, but I can see where the conflicting world visions are, and ultimately I side with Elon because we definitely should not have increased spending. That extra $500 billion is a real insult.
Right. Do you want to hear what Grok comes back with? It's a couple of sentences. It's pretty fun.
Sure.
So I asked, does the big beautiful bill net decrease spending? It says the one big beautiful bill passed by the House as a contentious topic regarding its impact on federal spending deficits. Official estimates from the Congressional Budget Office indicate it would increase primary deficits by $2.4 trillion over 10 years, with an additional $0.6 trillion in interest costs, totaling a $3 trillion net increase to the national debt by 2034. This suggests it does not net decrease spending overall.
Well, that's annoying. Let me be less annoyed here. Let me show you. Let's see. Well, originally there was some back and forth that got a little heated, and I feel like they've really backed away from it. So Trump's current comments are a little more subdued. So here's him talking to some reporters.
You posted yesterday that a good way to save money would be to cancel some of Musk's contracts. How seriously are you considering that?
Well, we'll take a look at everything. I look at everything. He's got a lot of money. He gets a lot of subsidy. So we'll take a look at that. Only if it's fair.
Yeah, he's not talking about destroying the space program anymore.
No.
He's actually reined it in quite a bit.
Fair for him and for the country. I would certainly think about it again, but it has to be fair.
Yeah, they've
got to take a look at it for the good of the country, Harry.
Yeah. I'm also not sure why I'm only getting audio on one channel on that. Hopefully that's not every single thing.
Like being old.
I actually sort of, I really like Sam Morril, the comedian. He does really great crowd work. I'm just going to play a little of what he said about this.
Trump and Elon are, that's crazy, huh? 2 straight hours like that falling apart. You just don't expect it from such grounded people.
Sam's great.
It's so unrelatable too, because I've had falling outs with friends, but I'm usually like, I just probably won't hang out with them as much. I don't just get on Twitter. I'm like, this guy's a fucking pedo, dude.
Yes, so I think Sam's got the pulse of the room, and Joe Rogan was sort of similarly like, what the hell am I looking at here? But people are, people are starting to sort of pick sides on this thing. So Silicon Valley is starting to pick sides in Musk and Trump's breakup. Not particularly surprising because it's not like these people don't have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Yes.
Yeah. So the real answer is Skep was right. Or at least he called shotgun first on being right.
Yeah.
And
pretty easy to be right there.
pretty easy to be right there.
That was
And
not a
this is incredibly stupid, and I wish I wasn't hearing about it.
And to be completely fair, both men have earned the right to have an ego considering where they've gotten to in life. I am not saying the ego is not allowed, but considering both their egos, it's not surprising in the least bit that they're like this.
really
So it's, and I think Trump comes off looking a little bit better because he's kind of backed off a tiny bit, because everyone expects the initial like ego burn that happens when it first happens. But then when you kind of go, all right, this doesn't solve anything. This doesn't make my job any easier or better or anybody else's lives, jobs or better. So let's just back up off this, take a deep breath, put my USA white hat on, go on the plane and talk to some people, and let the other one do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the thing of like, egos got bruised. The response isn't surprising when egos get bruised. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care how big or small you are, what gender you are, whatever it is. Most people, when their egos get bruised, come out swinging. That's just how we are as human beings.
Well,
So
they were
I'm
really
not,
emotionally invested. I mean,
yeah, no, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by egos getting bruised, because that's the only way your ego can get bruised is if there's some level of emotional investment in something going on.
yeah.
Because if you're completely detached, you're gonna be like, all right, cool, waste your life, and then just walk away. But it's just, it'll be interesting to see what this is like in 6 months. That's going to be the interesting part.
Yes, it will be. So, should we make fun of Massachusetts?
Go for it.
I mean, it's going to be nice to make fun of something that isn't the U.S. government and isn't California, because those two things get a lot of attention. So let's talk about Massachusetts. It's nice to know that not all of the stupid is in one place. Okay. So miles driven statewide, the plan is to provide more public transportation to move people out of private vehicles to reduce carbon emissions. Critics call the approach heavily restrictive. So a bill pending in Massachusetts that looks like a statewide vehicle miles traveled reduction goal as part of the decarbonization push has ignited national backlash. So essentially, Massachusetts wants to restrict the amount of miles that its citizens can drive within the state of Massachusetts. That's the proposal they're putting forward. You know, I got your 15 minutes city for you right here. How about we basically give you a quota as to how much you can drive in the state of Massachusetts? That's insane.
That's insane.
I'd rather live in Canada.
Yeah, that's
No, you
Canadian style.
Yeah.
Bacon.
And it's got a beautiful name. Under the so-called Freedom to Move Act, an interagency coordinating council would be tasked with crafting a whole-of-government plan to reduce reliance on personal vehicles and increase access to public transportation in the Bay State. The legislation would ensure that Massachusetts stays on track to reduce emissions from transportation, the sector that accounts for the greatest share of emissions in the Commonwealth. What a great name.
Great.
Majority Leader Cindy Cream, Creem.
Give me that name again.
I think it's
Cindy
Cream.
Cream.
No. The name of the program.
Oh, the Freedom to Move Act.
That is Orwellian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very Ministry of Truth, isn't it?
It absolutely is. There will only be one word.
Yeah, Ministry of Truth, Ministry of Transportation, they're both MOTs. It's fine.
Oh my God.
This is
Yeah.
fine. Cindy
it's not
Cream is
jerking
all
the
in favor of it.
simulation around.
Yeah. It's leading the push to shift the Bay State away from relying too heavily on electric vehicles as a decarbonizing strategy. Yeah, we don't want you having your own vehicle. Oh, no. No. Even if it's electric, we really need you to
Your
just...
selectman will decide if your trip is necessary. If so, he will requisition one of the county vehicles and schedule a time for you to take your trip. That's what it's going to be.
That sounds pretty sweet. So it's like Zipcar, but the government gives it to you for free?
Yeah, but it takes 2 months to get a car.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anybody else want a piece of this before we ignore
stock
this?
up at the grocery store.
This stupid idea from Massachusetts.
My thing is always and I kind of get where it comes from, because people people who do this kind of stuff, or any PD, always thinks that everyone else is going to make the wrong decision, or make the wrong choice if you give them choices. So they try to restrict choices, and then they just make everybody double down, because it just makes you want to dig your heels in and not want to do it, because it makes you want to rebel. Not everybody, but it makes a very vocal part rebel. And it's like, yes, adults can act like children sometimes, but you will find that for the most part, if you give people the ability to choose, when they feel they have control to choose, not the illusion of choice, but actual choice, they'll make at least a half decent choice most of the time. You'll always have the screw ups who make the bad choices, like to do hard drugs or whatever. But for the most part, most people will at least go the middling path. The issue with the freedom with everyone, from the 15-minute cities to that crap to everything, is just like, you're taking away choice. You should be building the systems this way. People, it's like, well, dear, I want to go do this before dinner. How about we just park the car here and we'll take the bus or the subway, and then we come back and then we'll get the car and leave. And it's, instead of allowing people to make choices, they're trying to beat people into submission. And that never works, because human beings, by the very nature of what we are, at least a portion of us, have that contrarian, rebellious streak in us. So it's like, build the system so people have the ability to choose what they want to do, not that you're making them do what you think is right. And you'll be amazed how many people make a good choice. Not the right choice, a good choice.
They can't make hard choices. That's the problem, because, for instance, if you want to make public transportation really good, suppose it's cheap, affordable, goes everywhere. One of the things you have to do is not let it become a mobile homeless shelter.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, you don't want it to be the tuberculosis express.
Yeah.
That's, you get on those buses and bad things happen. You'll your immune system will either become supernaturally good or you'll die.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's making things to the best tier that you possibly can, so this way people have the largest freedom to make the choice to do the better option. I don't want to say the right choice, because the right choice isn't right for everybody. But it's like, there's also the fact that we don't live in a country that's a face culture. That's what everybody talks about with, like, Japan and Korea and stuff like that. They're face cultures. Shame is attached to how you appear in public. We don't have that here.
Japan and Korea are shame cultures.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. And China's a little bit, but not as much as it once was.
This is classical anthropological theory she's saying right now.
But that's the thing, is that because they are that way, and there is shame attached, not only shame for you, but shame for your parents, your friends, your rest of your family, your
village.
Yeah, it causes people to put it very simply, to become very restricted. Now, whether you think being extremely restricted is a good thing or bad thing, that is a personal thing for yourself. But that's the thing. We're never going to have that unless one of two things happens. We either get a lot of automated systems to pick up the bulk of it, which is like, at the end of the night, the trains and the buses go into a depot, hoses get attached to their roofs, and they have a full wash down immediately without people getting involved. Clean them out. No one lives in it. You're done. Or people actually start to treating everything with respect. But the only way that happens and stays consistent, as much as some people don't want to hear it, I'm not saying anybody here, but the populace as a whole don't want to hear it, is that you have to go to shame. You have to go to that kind of culture, and they don't want that. It's kind of like the thing you always see with people online talking about, well, Europe only works so many days and they get this, 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 and this. It's like, yeah, but they're less productive than us. America's one of the most productive countries in the world. Doesn't feel like it sometimes, but we are. It's like, you want the good stuff from Japan and you want the good stuff from Europe, but you don't want to deal with the bad stuff that comes along with it. You don't want to deal with the constant in Europe and most of the countries where they're constantly striking for the public transport, and then everybody can't go anywhere, or the fact that there's no place that you could have a car because the streets are too small. But you don't want it. But at the same time, you don't want the work culture of Japan. You want all the good stuff, but that requires having to deal with shame, and nobody wants that.
I just don't want to have to spend 4 hours drinking shoju with my boss and then get up the next morning to catch a train.
Yeah,
I'm
agreed.
fine with the work part of it. It's the after work part of it that's
Well,
a bit much.
Well, I get that.
But
there's some people who
I'm going off on a tangent. And
Yeah, but
forget I
it's-
said anything.
But it's just that's the issue is that you have people. It's kind of weirdly, and it's the reason why they're the same group of people. Is that you have the people who push the social justice bull crap. Bullies are evil, bullies are bad, but it's okay to bully when I bully when they're in these kind of positions, or just like the social justice people who are like whatever is their cup of tea this month. Is that they don't actually think that stuff's bad because they want to control everybody because they secretly wanted to be the bully. And that's kind of what this is like they think that they know better because they are who they are. And it's like, you don't know better.
You want a
You
piece of
don't.
this functional?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
All right. So Serenity, before I
just get
lose you
annoyed
here,
with it.
let me let's see. I have a thing here with
You still, you
Weebs.
still have an hour. Still have an hour.
Well, I mean, I got a big spreadsheet. We got a lot of stuff we have to want to talk about. Let me see.
Move right along. Do it.
Let's see. Weebs. Where'd Weebs go? Oh, okay. So
There we go. Nice
again,
segue.
this is the whole admire the hustle thing, right? So she took a risk to launch an anime-inspired swimwear brand during the pandemic. Now the Netflix of anime is giving her a big break.
What's the Netflix of anime? Crunchyroll?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Crunchyroll.
Yeah. She's worried it wouldn't be viewed as a serious business. Now, Crunchyroll, the biggest anime streaming platform, is tapping her for a collaboration. Again, I mean, do I think the world is a better place for having anime-inspired swimwear? Not really.
Mhm.
But hey, well, a lot of other people were doing, I don't know, just investing in heavy drinking during the pandemic. She went off, started a brand, and now she's like, the hustle is real. I think this is great. Besides, we're taking money from Weebs. They don't have anything else to do with their money anyway, so we have to make merch for them. You don't agree we should take money from Weebs? Everybody's gotten very quiet. Am I talking to myself?
No.
Okay.
Don't want an opinion.
It is immoral before God.
No, it's not.
Or- no, listen to me.
Okay.
It is. I'm going to tell you what is immoral. Something that is immoral before God is for a fool to remain attached to his money. As a principle, the market. Heinlein's most basic right. Go to hell in any way you please. As long as you don't hurt anybody else.
Well, we talk about leisure stuff all the time, Skep, because all these video games that people in this chat play, those things cost a lot of money.
They
Gaming
sure do.
systems, we're lucky that we have disposable income.
Absolutely. And the really cool thing is that by spending it on that, by adding value so that people's economic activity goes toward supporting that, the resulting increase in value increases the value of society. That's that stuff I'm talking about, those magical transactions that comprise the real wealth of society. That's really what an economy is those trust transactions, one built upon the other. And as the money goes from transaction to transaction, that's its velocity. And that's the health of the economy.
So I have
How you measure it.
I have an Asia thing that it's also a fish thing. So,
Mhm.
but I don't hate these particular fish. So I don't know if you've seen this one.
This
Serenity?
restaurant is filled with fish because it's actually an aquarium cafe. You sit
shut
with
up. So yeah, basically you go in to sit in this.
No. Not for me.
No, you don't think so?
You sit in the restaurant surrounded by fish that eat your feet.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Don't you want to sip your latte while the feet fish come out here and nibble on you?
No.
Okay. Well, okay. How about this? How about this place? Would you like to eat a meal while a bunch of fish swim around you?
No. Once
Are you
again,
sure?
I would feel self-conscious. I'd feel like the fish would be going, that's my cousin.
Yeah. So the first one was Thailand's Crazy Koi Fish Cafe.
That's nuts. That is crazy nuts.
That's some pretty cool engineering, though. I mean, if you think about what you have to do to make this work, it's actually kind of impressive.
The area
Because water doesn't want to just stay there and be well behaved.
You've got to get air in that water for the
Yeah,
fish.
it goes places where you don't want it to go.
Right. Wow.
Well,
It's
back
just
to
the
that
stink-
other one.
It's just the
Hydrology is
stinkies.
complicated.
I don't know. I think this is actually a little bit cool.
That's a little bit better than the other
That's
one.
I'm with Serenity on that.
Yeah, I could do that.
Absolutely, it's an improvement.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah,
That
I
would
think
be
this
okay.
is actually kind of cool.
I could actually do that.
Well, also the restaurant looks big enough that the air is able to circulate, so you're not getting that smell
hmm
when you get
Yes,
too close
yeah.
to ponds.
Great.
The
great
other
point.
one, it's too close. The ceiling's too low. They're right there. You can drop food. It just,
Yeah.
But essentially, all of this acrylic, all of this basic fish tank stuff, this is a bit of an engineering nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have transparent aluminum. You know, they're not picking up whales and taking them to the 24th century. This is a mess. I'm sorry, 23rd century.
And they are not dealing with small pressures. That water weighs a lot.
Okay, how about this, Jim? Hey, functional.
Uh-oh.
How about this, Jim?
Okay, that's kind of cool.
yeah, I'd get behind that.
How are the
Pedal,
cars?
you bitches, pedal.
Yeah, so the cars that they're racing, their speed depends on how fast the people pedal. I feel like there should be alcohol with this too, though.
It's one of the.
Now that's a spin class.
Yep.
That is fun. That is outstanding.
I like that.
Yep.
Let's see. Hey, Serenity, this is for you.
Yes, sir.
Unsafe and poorly operated. The sheriff even says he wants to shut it down, but the owner, Charles Womack, says he's not going anywhere.
I'm just trying to help these high school kids and college kids because they ain't got no money.
Police call this
Born with an unfortunate voice.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Very high.
College kids because they ain't got no money.
We know why you want them high school and college kids there, sir. We know why you do.
Well,
You
I
got a
mean,
popsicle in your basement? You got popsicles in your basement?
That's right.
Sir?
see if
Free
all the
hugs.
kids want to come by
Hugs
and
in
see
the
my
basement.
etchings. Yeah, that's good. All right. That was really silly. Okay, how about some Minecraft?
Over the past 2.5 years, I have been learning how to build digital systems in Minecraft. The computer that you are seeing right now, while still a work in progress, has been built over
This is pretty damn cool.
the past 4
Did he build
months. Before I
Skynet?
started building this, I built calculators for fun.
That's a lot of
However,
redstone.
After learning how to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo operations, I decided that my fourth project would be
I've never heard it's pronounced medulo, Skep. But anyway, we'll give him some.
Let the boy- let the boy do what he
computer
can.
that would be programmable in machine code and hopefully
God,
one
you
day
so
assembly
computers
code.
having a hard
But
time.
as you can see, the scale of this has become so massive that it has become difficult to run without mods. It is possible to run this in vanilla Minecraft, but due to how laggy it is actually preferable to have around 60 plus mods to optimize Minecraft. So
Okay, this is a
Well,
level of
okay,
weaponized
this is-
A word that this is pretty extreme.
Yeah. This is
But I feel like this person is very employable
Oh, yeah.
yes, very much so.
because
Sounds
if
very
we could
Very,
take
very
this
bright.
level of attention to detail and turn it into some kind of economic output, this would
That's
be
a
pretty great.
disciplined mind. Somewhere down there. Disciplined mind.
Well, there's something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and this is where you're all going to tell me I'm full of crap. But
Okay.
You're full of crap.
I still think a large chunk of people that claim they have ADHD don't.
All agreed.
It just, I just to put it in the vernacular, ADHD is cap. Now, hashtag not all, but
Yeah.
here's a short, okay? A study about ADHD by the University of Central Florida. On the left, somebody's looking at a math video. Same student later, fishing YouTube videos. Look at them. In the fishing videos, they're barely moving. They're fidgeting like a crazy person on the math videos. Maybe I just don't get it, but if you are able to focus on things you like, but you can't focus on things you don't like, I'm not sure that's a medical disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
If you couldn't focus on anything, okay, fine. But the fact that you can only focus on things that you find interesting, that's
Kind of the human condition.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That just sounds like a lack of discipline to me. It seems like maybe you need some time at the ranch.
Well, also, like, I want to see the math video because it's like a person can make math engaging if they're a person who can make math engaging. But if it's just, we are going to do 2 + 2, I would go insane too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, get this mother effer off the screen. I could do this faster than they can tell me to.
But there are plenty of other examples. If you can
Oh,
focus on a video game for 3 hours, but then when somebody wants you to do
3
do your
hours.
homework, it's like,
Cute.
yeah.
3 hours.
I think people get way too much latitude when they claim that they have ADHD, especially if it's self-diagnosed.
Well, that's always the problem. Not to mention the fact that they're putting everything under the neurodivergent umbrella now. Like dyslexia is now under the neurodivergent umbrella. And I'm like, no, guys, like I just occasionally I'll flip numbers, and with 5-letter words or more, I flip the second and third letter. It's not that I do not have it that bad. I read a lot. I am not like you.
There are people out there with terrible, terrible psychiatric disorders that ruin their lives, right? And I sort of feel like this is sort of like when somebody says, well, the male gaze made me feel violated. It's like, how about we take the resources that go to investigating that and go after the bad people who need to rot in jail, or go to the special island where we televise their Lord of the Flies type stuff. That equating like minimal things to major things everybody's worse off for this. I was surprised. I thought you were going to tell me, no, ADHD is a terrible thing and you got to do this and you got to do that. No,
it is. It is for real people, but this proves nothing. This video proves nothing. Like,
well,
because we also don't know his day. We don't know what he did that day, whether he got any exercise. Like, it's like there's not enough data.
We don't know any of the control factors.
Yeah, and that's the other problem. Is like, did he get a lot of sleep? Did he not get a lot of sleep? Because I know I get more antsy easier when I have less sleep than when I have more.
Is he really into fishing? And if the video was art history, would he have been more engaged? Because again, art history can be just as dry and boring for some people as math. But you know, I would imagine you put Harry in front of like some of these math videos, he'd be like, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm gonna, pay attention." But you put him in front of Canadian politics, he'd probably be doing the fidgety stuff like, "Get me out of here! I don't need to hear about these weird, funny talking people."
Yeah,
and their flappy heads.
As long as it's not Fibonacci sequences. I hate those things.
But it's kind of like the big spike we had with DID a long time ago, a few years ago, was, and
you're talking about associative disorder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we had the big spike, it was people self-diagnosing, but it was people looking for attention or looking for an excuse, the reason why they haven't, air quotes, succeeded in life. Because it's like, oh, well, because I have this, it's harder for me to do this. So that's the reason why I'm living paycheck to paycheck at a retail job. And it's like, I mean, it can have a hand in it, but there are plenty of people who have it much worse than you, who have succeeded, who have thrived, who have become something major. So it's kind of like it's kind of, just slightly take it down a tangent. The abuse narrative, when you have people who go, well, I was abused, that's the reason why I abused. It's like, no, there's plenty of people who were abused who know how it makes them feel and didn't do it. That's not an excuse. This is the same thing. It's like a lot of this is just, oh, I have depression. Okay, that sucks. I'm sorry. But the fact that you are conscious of it, it means you can do something about it. You don't need to have everything in a perfect order. Or I have ADHD. Okay, you're completely aware of that. What are you doing to fix that? Now, I don't mean therapy. What are you doing to make your life easier? What are you doing to do things? Like, what are you actually actively doing? Because the minute you admit you have it, that means you know that you have to do something about it. And if you're not doing anything actively to do anything about it, you like where you are.
Yeah, I think neurodivergence can be, a positive thing. Having a bunch of people that think exactly the same, probably not the best way to go through life. So if somebody shows up and goes full Temple Grandin and says, I can think like a cow, sure, come on in. I'm very curious to see what you're going to contribute to the thing. But the people who claim I have like a disability, which makes me completely unfit for doing the job that I'm applying for, but you have to accommodate me to basically pay me to do nothing. It's like, okay, that's maybe a step too far.
Well, it's like the people who did the time blindness thing. They're like, well, I have time blindness, so I don't know how much time's passing. Cool.
No.
You have alarms on your phone, right? Set an alarm.
Yeah. I feel like there's a technological solution for this.
Well, I mean, I could understand, like, in the 80s, like early 90s to 80s and before we had, because technology has made it easier to, if you wish to have some semblance of aids to do things, to do it. Like, you don't need to have like several different alarms, like alarm clocks through the house. You just have to have your phone on you. Now for someone like me who will put my phone down and then forget where I put my phone, that makes things difficult. But like for some people, that could make things easier for them. It's just, it's the whole thing of people want to be victims when they choose to be victims, but no one who actually is a victim wants to be a victim. It's that kind of stuff. Because choosing when you can be a victim gives you power, when being an actual victim gives you no power.
Okay.
It's that stuff.
So conditionally, with an asterisk, we're all willing to admit ADHD is cap.
Yeah.
In
Asterisk.
this case, yes. I believe it is a real thing, but in this person,
well, I believe it's a real thing too. But I think, like I said, a lot of people use other people's goodness and charity against them.
Oh, 100%.
You know, by claiming to have
that's very fair.
I have a nebulous disability that's really hard to quantify. No, I haven't been tested, but I shouldn't have to.
I'll tell you when it's better. Start paying attention to me and giving me stuff.
You know what would really motivate me? More money. It ends up being the beginning of Office Space, where the Bobs are talking to Ron Livingston. Yeah, what exactly do you do here? I don't know. I show up and zone out for a few hours.
Well, it's like, it'll be very interesting because I'm amazed more people haven't tried to claim ADHD as a major disability to get disability payments. I've heard of people trying, but they haven't really gotten through the system yet because the system, thank God, hasn't fully adapted. It's going to be interesting in the next few years to see how that goes. Now, do I think things like TikTok help? No, of course they don't. But that's a whole other can of worms. It's just, yeah.
And it's the other T word. It's Tumblr's the one that causes a lot of problems. You know, it's a great validation machine, Tumblr.
Well, so's TikTok, because it's literally built into the algorithm of TikTok to validate and then give you a downer. So this way you then seek the upper more on TikTok to keep doing it. That's the reason why you have to be very, very careful with Instagram, TikTok, all of them, because they all do that.
I feel like I owe this to Functional. So I have this filed under vaporware, but how would you feel about another flying car? So Bay Area Company takes thousands of pre-orders for first true flying car in history. Come on, you know you want it.
I want one. I mean, I've wanted one since the 1950s.
Why are we not getting any sound?
And they promised us then, right around the corner, 5 years at most.
People can barely drive on roads. Why would I want them to drive?
Yeah, so there it is. Look, it's flying.
God, that looks stupid.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they've got it set so it can be treated like an experimental aircraft. So you can't fly too high and you can't fly at night. But other than that, it's totally a flying car. Yeah. Sleek design. There's your sleek design.
Ugh.
Why did you have to
dispute between President Trump and Elon Musk?
Oh, shut up! First, you have no sound.
Covered
then
that
sound.
story.
Yeah. The ALEF Model A. So it says here the vehicle falls into the ultralight classification. So as of present day, no certification is required to legally fly the cars. The ALEF noted, that the classification does come with some limitations for operators. Just said, oh, and you can't fly it over congested areas. So you can drive out of town.
What's the point?
Well, so you can claim you have a flying car.
Whoop-de fudging doodle.
It's $300,000, but they're saying it's going to. But when they start making a bunch of them, they're going to be as cheap as a Toyota Corolla.
$300,000. That or a Lamborghini Urus. What would I buy?
I
What would I buy?
I find this to all be bullshit, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're all agreeing
It's
this
not
is
even-
bullshit.
It's not even that cool looking, man. Like,
No.
come on.
Well,
make
once
'em
people
cool.
start buying these, then comes in the government and says no.
Yeah.
It doesn't
There's
look
you-
terribly durable either.
Yeah. And that's when people are going to be really upset that they can't drive their air quotes flying car because the government says no, these are not legal vehicles to operate in the United States. So you just wasted $300,000 on a paperweight that's not very heavy.
Oh, one of these will kill somebody. Watch and see.
Mm-hmm.
Watch
Yeah.
and see. Guaranteed. Some drunk billionaire kid, billionaire buys it for his kid. Here, have fun.
It'll
kid.
probably be Mr. Beast.
So this will be fun here. Ship abandoned off Alaska after electric cars on board catch fire.
Mm.
Yeah, so U.S.
Nice.
Coast Guard and civilian vessels have rescued 22 sailors off the coast of Alaska after some of the electric cars they were transporting caught fire.
Caught fire.
The good
There you
ship
go.
Morning Midas, a roll-on, roll-off ferry that was delivering 3,000 vehicles from Yantai, China to Lázaro Cárdenas, Mexico, is currently
Chinese
around
miles.
304 miles south of Adak. Oh, Adak is beautiful this time of year, right, Skep?
Oh my God.
My
It's
grandfather told me
icy.
some stories about Adak during the Battle for the Aleutians, but that's a story for another
full of
time.
ice up there.
Actually, the Battle for the Aleutians is a very interesting piece
It's
of
a very
military history.
interesting- Yes, very interesting bit of naval history
'Cause-
involved. too.
Because we could talk about like the first battles, where carriers tried to destroy each other in the South Pacific, but the Battle for the Aleutians was really interesting. Anyway,
And it
though I
was the
digress.
7th and the 3rd Fleet, and that was my fleet. 3rd
Yeah.
Fleet.
So the vessel loaded with 3,000 vehicles, 800 of which are electric. Smoke was initially seen emanating from a deck carrying electric vehicles. Yeah. So we don't really know a whole lot about this, except for the
Do we
fact that
know-
it sucks. Because if you imagine what could happen if this vehicle fire spread amongst a bunch of things, this ship could sink, or it could just be too dangerous to be on, and they'll come back to complete carnage. I don't know.
Well,
Stay
do
tuned.
we know who the maker of the cars are? Because if they're the Chinese, like I think it's like
BYD, I
White
think,
Dog.
is one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those. I've heard horror stories even in China of them catching fire.
Just
So
just
Yep.
to guess at it, what I would expect them, they will stay the hell away from that thing
Mhm.
until the fire burns out. They will not try and put out that fire.
Oh,
They'll
yeah,
let
no.
the ocean put out that fire. But if it stays afloat, they may do an afloat salvage where
Mhm.
they either tow it to a place that has like an MRV, one of those things that makes the giant ships come out of the water, and they can work on the hulls, and they can do it that way, or they can, and part of it will be an offloading thing. They'll probably offload it partly at sea. That'll be a very interesting, very expensive thing. But if the cargo is worth recovering, they'll do that. And if the hull can be salvaged, that's a free ship for somebody.
Yeah. Well, this is just the suck. I mean, this is hot
this
good.
sucks right now. But don't throw up your hands. You got to see how bad this fire is, and chances are it will burn itself out and be a salvageable situation if the stupid thing can stay afloat. If they set the right watertight situation, they'll give themselves the best. And I'm sure they did before they abandoned. I'm sure they said Circle William or whatever they're calling it these days, and it'll stay afloat as best it can. You have to wait and see what happens with the fire.
So I think we talked about this before. Blue books, right? I mean, we all had blue books of one form or another at one point in our life. Am I correct?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Functional as well.
What's a blue book?
It's basically
You
an
write
exam
essay-
book where you show up
Handbook.
and then you have to write essays and things in the blue book and hand it in as part of your test.
yeah,
No.
Did they do multiple choice, or how did you deal with your essay questions?
Essay questions.
Different majors, different requirements, I see.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
What is it? What, you're talking like high school though, right?
Oh, university.
college.
Yeah, this is a university thing. So this particular article from
Oh.
Gizmodo is saying AI cheating is so out of hand in America's schools that the blue books are coming back. So
As they should.
As they should. It's like if kids are cheating all the time, it's, well, when it's time to take the test, you have no computer, you have no phone, you have no calculator, you just have a book and a freaking pencil. Start describing what you know about pre-Socratic philosophy. You know, that's basically, that's where this is going. And this affects high school and everything else, because if the kids are going to cheat, and I don't mean using like Notebook LM or something that is good at summarizing things and actually could be used as a learning aid. There are AIs that are useful in that regard, but I'm talking about people that are having the AIs actually do their homework. You're going to go in to do a test, they're going to hand you a blue book, and you're probably going to melt down. Because
Which is what needs to happen, because it's like when it comes to some of them, like especially lawyers, doctors, accountants, I don't want you to have cheated.
yeah,
I want you to know your crap, or at least have the discernible framework of the crap you need to know, so this way you know what to build off of to go further. Like, I don't expect you as a doctor or a lawyer to know every thing. I don't expect you to know every process. I don't expect you to know every law, but I need to know. It's kind of like being in school when we were taught how to use the Dewey Decimal System. I expect you to know how to look it up and how to disseminate, how to interpret and then disseminate that information out to me. If you were incapable of those two things, I don't want to deal with you.
the Dewey Decimal System is really one of my favorite things. I know it really shouldn't be, but essentially what you're doing is creating a metric space for information. It's a beautiful system.
It is a beautiful system.
Not only does
I'm with you.
Not only does it basically tell you what something is, but it gives you an idea of its relationship, sort of its mental distance from one thing to another thing. But okay, stop talking about the Dewey Decimal System. So it says here that sales of blue books this school year were up by more than 30% at Texas A&M, 50% at the University of Florida. The improbable growth was even more impressive at the University of California, Berkeley. Over the past 2 academic years, blue book sales at the Cal Student Store were up by 80%. Demand for blue books is suddenly booming again because they help solve a problem that didn't exist on campuses until now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. I think the lack of writing skills in the graduates and really expository speaking skills at all, the complete lack thereof in today's graduates, amazing and appalling. I don't understand it.
Now they just need to bring back cursive.
I agree. I'm with you. You know, I have a good blue book story. Just tell it real quick.
Go.
When I was accepted into the graduate program at SMU, they gave us this packet, and it was this work through, and they said, this will take you at least 1 month. This will take the CPAs 1 month to work through. If you don't have accounting background, it will take you about 2 to 3 months to work through. 6 months before I started the program. I worked this thing assiduously. I mean, I was ready to take the CPA. I could consolidate multiple companies, easily. When I entered SMU as a result of working through this, but it required that you did this. So we come in, and it's orientation day. It's welcome to SMU. Hey, EMBA 8, welcome. They had the first day, and we, had for the first morning. The morning of orientation day, had all these speakers come in. We thought, oh, it's going to be very cordial. And we went out to lunch there at the club, and it was, really lovely. And when we came back, there was a blue book on every chair in the classroom where we in the morning listening to the different speakers. It was our accounting midterm. This was 50% of your accounting grade, which is one of the most important courses you take in MBA school. And 2 of the people walked out. They left $5,000 behind each. They forfeited their $5,000. They walked out of the room when they saw what was happening. It was a very interesting, and we had to take that midterm right there, and we got our grades right there too. A couple of people failed it. A couple of people failed a graduate school exam, and one of them from IBM, I know she got a C in accounting. Anyway,
Yeah.
graduate school tales. But anyway, when they saw the blue book, you could have heard a pin drop in that room.
Well, before you heard the pin drop, you heard this sound of like 100 sphincters slamming shut and then silence.
Yeah, and it was so funny because it was one of those things where I was so well prepared for it. I was like, yeah, let's do this. I'm totally ready. I'm ready for,
Yeah. Well, if you've done your work, there's nothing to be intimidated by a blue book test. But if you haven't done your work,
I got a 96.
if you slid by, if you cut corners, if you crammed, a blue book is your worst nightmare, basically, and manifested in dead tree form. It is not, not good.
And that's what you had to do was write out your answers. What you credit, what you debit, why you do this. You had to. It's not. There's not a multiple choice test. There's not a multiple choice test here. Everything is essay. Everything was expository.
Well, let me move to the to the next article. I'm going to save this next one for when Sora gets back, I think. Sorry, I have to cough. Okay, so this is a new thing that they had about Gen Z. Apparently, reading to kids at all-time low because Gen Z parents say it's not fun. Now, whether it's not fun for the kids or they don't enjoy reading to their kids, according to this study that they come along with, that according to a study published in HarperCollins UK, they're saying the number of parents reading to their children is an all-time low, with fewer than half, 41% of kids 4 years old and younger, being read to frequently. That's a pretty terrible number. In 2012, the number was 64%. So now that Gen Zs are squirting at kids, I feel like somebody should let them know that they really need to read to their kids. Don't just hand them an iPad and walk away. It's like, actually read to your kids.
No chance of none.
Yep. Sorry. Okay. Enough about Gen Z. But here's a good thing. This is actually positive, I think. So Bay Area library visits have sharply declined, but not in this tranquil suburb. In the beautiful town of Mill Valley, home of Joe's Taco Lounge, people have responded to the post-pandemic world by suddenly going to libraries. In fact, there are more people going to the libraries in Mill Valley now than before the pandemic. It turned into like a weird, quiet, social thing that they're doing in this lovely, somewhat affluent town. Mill Valley is a great, great place.
It is. Was the start of the Dipsy Trail run, which I have a Dipsy Trail medal from the original Dipsy Trail run.
That says most libraries
I completed
in the 9 Bay Area counties have yet to see visits climb back to pre-pandemic levels. Large public systems like San Francisco, San Jose, and Oakland are still seeing about 30% fewer visits per capita than they used to. But no, this lovely little library in Mill Valley. So apparently, you look at this graph and Mill Valley, people are just going, hey, let's all go to the library. I think it's kind of wonderful and it's kind of wholesome. But I think one reason it sort of works, I hate to be cynical about it, is Mill Valley is essentially a small homogeneous community.
Yep.
It's full of well-mannered, affluent people.
Affluent culture.
You're not going to go there and have somebody practicing their beatboxing in the corner and not listening.
By a very aggressive police force, if you know Mill Valley.
I love a good library. I really, really like a good library. You know, that focus that you don't have because you supposedly have ADHD, a library is a great place to figure out how to get that back.
Yep.
You know, you go there, you sit down, you have to be quiet. You are literally focused. You're forced to actually focus on the thing in hand. And if you fidget too much and start tapping your fingers, somebody's going to shush you. Public shaming. I just like the fact that people are doing this. I would like to see more of these other cities start doing this too. But yeah, beautiful Mill Valley. Mill Valley is a lovely little town. It really is great. I mean, I know that a lot of California sucks, but Mill Valley is fantastic.
You're not going to be able to make this happen in Central LA.
No.
Well, if we do all the things that we've talked about, like I said, the public shaming and everything else, you could do this anywhere. Oh, let's talk about somebody who's being massively entitled. Yeah, let's just get this out of the way. Yeah, this annoys me so
Stripped
much.
of a track and field gold medal for celebrating. The teen says this you see right here was a tribute. You see right there with the extinguisher.
Yeah, so she at a state competition, a 16-year-old girl of color wins, gets a gold medal in this track and field event, and then she goes out and takes a fire extinguisher and sprays it at her shoes, doing this little celebratory thing, for those who can't see what's going on in the picture.
Sure, to one of her favorite Olympic runners, but high school track officials say it was out of bounds, and now she's considering taking the fight to court. NBC Bay Area's Robert Honda is in Salinas with the details.
The story of what happened to Clara Adams is a big local event that got global attention, more than 3 million posts and comments online. Now, her local and Bay Area communities are rallying behind a fight to restore her medal and all the other things she says she lost.
Now, you just know how this is going to go, right? You can already imagine what this is going to look like and sound like. I mean, I know I can. We all know where this is going, right?
I can't wait.
Okay.
16-year-old Clara Adams is getting a lot of love from her North Salinas High School community. Today on campus, with her family and attorneys, they demanded the California Interscholastic Federation restore her status as a state champion. Adams won the 400 meters and, with a fire extinguisher, paid tribute to a celebration made famous by Olympic champion Maurice Green.
I walked off the track, made sure I wasn't on the long jump pit. I went on the grass and sprayed my spikes because my feet were on fire. I just ran.
She's so pleased with herself, and she thinks that the rules just do not apply to her.
I'm just a little better than everybody else.
I'm just that hot that I have to do this thing. It's like, and she knew that this was off limits, but she did it anyway.
Well, it's like it's celebrating at the Olympics and celebrating at a state track meet are two different things.
Also, it's the Olympics problem if it happens at the Olympics. They have their own rules, right?
Well, I know, but like to do that at the Olympics is a big deal. Do this at a state level thing. Well, it's a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. You're not the face of the sport for the next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you were at the Olympics, but it's like, I made sure I wasn't, yeah, but you made sure you were in the center green where everyone could see you celebrate. You didn't take it off
competition for 5 years.
I would be perfectly happy if we had a time machine, we warned her, and she got to keep her medal, and she didn't do the thing. Let's hear the civil rights attorney. This will be super fun.
Why he looks like they all do.
Okay.
Race. Today, Bay Area civil rights attorney Adante Pointer said the CIF is on notice. Give her the gold medal or go to court.
On top of that, they also need to compensate her for the emotional distress they caused her, as well as her father, who was there to witness this outrageous act by these officials.
Did she look like she was distressed to you? She looked like she was having the time of her life, having people all around the world pay attention to her.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's going to be a Bay Area judge, and she will win.
So we're looking to make sure to hold CIF accountable.
The CIF has not responded to our request.
Well, of course they haven't, because the whole idea is preposterous. That they want her to get her gold medal. They want her to be compensated. They want to give her some, what do we call it? What's the money that what do we call the money that people get for stuff like this? I mean, sarcastic
Damages.
We call it. No, the sarcastic thing we call it.
I don't know.
I forget. Anyway, she's going to get her academic reparations for being stepped on. And then her father's supposed to be compensated because he's supposed to be sad because of what happened to his daughter. And of course, a chunk of that money, there has to be money involved. Otherwise, that lawyer doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
Because that's his payday, right? He gets 30 or 40% of whatever they get.
I'm more interested at that poorly aged 60s commercials.
Oh, well, there's Paul. These are great. I show these all the time, dude.
I know. That's why I'm excited.
You know, I told you I love cringe. I can't help it.
Problem is that Federation probably also helps to pay for kids who can't afford. She very obviously can't afford. Her father's very obviously at least has enough money to do that kind of stuff. But it's like, you're now going to take money out of those kids' ability, those lower income kids to be able to do stuff. Way to go, sweetheart. You're disenfranchising more people because you couldn't wait
Law of unintended consequences.
Well, she's taking it from the state. It's not taking it from the poor kids in North Salinas. She's taking it. She's going after money from the state.
I know,
and
but
they practically print their own money in her mind, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that's taking money away that could possibly go to a scholarship or to help pay for equipment for some kids and stuff like that. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's that because that money has to come from somewhere. So yeah, it
comes from the insurance that that those people took out. It comes from the insurance. That's like it comes from nowhere. It's like manna from heaven.
Yeah, it's magical.
It is magical, isn't it?
The insurance fairies bring it.
I love it when insurance fairy season happens and they just sprinkle Gibbs on everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Marina McKenna does a benefit for them. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so we did the Massachusetts thing. I actually have something, we were talking about the cringe thing, functional.
Mm-hmm.
And I stumbled across this thing that's sort of like, for lack of a better word, Scientology without the religion. It's a lot of expensive people taking expensive courses. I'm not going to say what it is because we'll probably come back to it later. Okay. But it got me inspired because I was thinking, when I was a kid, they used to have these ads all the time for people with your get-rich-quick systems. So I started looking for ads from like the various get-rich-quick things that people would watch back in the day. Some of these are pretty damn great.
Look at this picture here. 10 children and a mom and a dad live in a little tent like this. Crowded, destitute. We couldn't even speak
This is
English
Tom
at the
Vu.
time. And after we got out of this refugee camp, we got to do many odd jobs to support the family, like washing dishes, busboy.
Hey, all good so far, right? Hard work.
Thank God that I found a unique system to make millions in real estate starting from nothing.
System. Oh, hello,
Result,
unique.
We became financially independent.
And that's him now.
Several years ago, I decided to share this wealth-building knowledge with other people across the country. Many people took my seminar, become very wealthy,
make money now. And these things just go on and on and on. I love these things. There were so many of them that showed up. There was also, let's see, Dave Deldato was another one. There was Ed Beckley, but I particularly like these two guys.
It was this kind of thinking that has helped John and Greg go from where they were then
they have
to
these
living
two
the
little
lives
people.
they do today.
We're John and Greg Rice. We started investing in real estate in the mid-1970s. And over the years, we've discovered a system of making money in real estate without using any of your own money or credit, which was great for us when we got started because we didn't have either. We also learned how to acquire great property without a real estate license or without having to deal with problem tenants.
Yeah, you don't need to have a license. You don't have to deal with any tenants. You don't have to have any money. You don't have to have any credit. It's just magic. You learn our new system.
Money falls into your
money
pocket.
just falls into your pocket. And these things, there were so many of them.
Out
Oh my God, yes.
But I love the Tom Vu ones because he has like a famous saying.
Not everyone is fortunate enough to know my techniques of how to make a lot of money.
The Tom Vu method differs from others in that his system teaches you how to make money in real estate immediately and enjoy life right away.
I know some of you are thinking, my seminar is the same like everybody else's seminar. My seminar is not the same like everybody else. My course is copyrighted. It means no one else is allowed to teach my unique course.
You hear that? He said his course is copyrighted. Nobody else is allowed to teach his unique course. It's copyrighted.
Plus, my system can show you how to put money in your pocket in real estate right away.
Tom Vu says
these women are not particularly interested, but nothing has really changed. They have all of these sort of systems. Anybody who's on TV who's saying, I made all of this money doing XYZ. And then they're saying, I'm going to teach you how to do XYZ too. Well, if you're making so damn much money doing XYZ, why are you bothering standing up in front of this crowd trying to teach it? Aren't you just happy with the huge piles of money that you swim around in like Scrooge McDuck already? It always seems...
It's the other thing too, which is if you're really that successful and you really want to help people, why are you charging?
Yeah.
What I love is when they take a tour of an expensive home, pretending to be a buyer, and shoot a bunch of B-roll, and then that's their ad. Is look at all the stuff I have. Look at the place I live in. It's some luxury home that he's
doesn't actually own.
And he was walked through, took film off. There were several of those guys who were doing.
Oh
that.
yeah,
some fairly successful.
Nowadays they do Airbnbs for like a day. and then they'll rent like a really expensive car, and it's like, yeah, this is my car, and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
There's even a studio in Los Angeles that is a fake private jet interior.
Nice.
That has all the lights to make it look like you're flying and everything like that. So now when people are like, yeah, I'm on my private jet, you'll see so many comments going, cool, take a picture out the window.
Yeah.
Take a video out the window. Show me you're actually flying. Like, it's getting ridiculous. It's just like, good Lord.
Getting ridiculous, yes.
Well, I mean, back then that like to me it's like that's bad, but it's like it's getting ridiculous now where people are just faking stuff. Like, I'm gonna rent instead of do it. And
You're
it's
not
just
going to
really-
be able to believe your eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because when you say, "Hey, take a video of you flying in the airplane" or whatever, they'll just go to some AI program, and be like,
Oh, yeah.
"Here you go."
Yeah.
Well, I had a thing that actually talks about this very topic, but I don't think I remember to keep copying it forward. I'm trying to find it. It was basically a thing.
Doggies anyway.
Yeah, you have to go take care of doggies. Go do that.
Doggos.
But of what?
Sorry, I'll have to
Appertaining
find
to
it some other time. Sorry, but there's always people who are like trying to take advantage of people who are desperate for money. And I feel pretty bad about this because it seems like most of these things then and now really prey on people that are just sort of financially vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really not good to me. It's
it's kind of like the lottery. It ends up being a tax on the people with the lowest quality information and the lowest quality ability to process the information that they earn. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the tools, that they're easy to bamboozle. These people know, how to appeal to the insecurities of those people and manage to separate some of them from their money. Kind of sad, really.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's just the promise of big money. Let me turn that down a little bit here. Look, there's like a little jingle.
And you all have these dreams. And what I want to be able to do is take those dreams via the unique money-making vehicle of real estate and translate.
God, I need a shower. I hate these people so much.
Yeah.
I really, really don't like this. Anyway, these people are terrible. I just despise all this stuff. And the thing that I'm looking at right now, is sort of, like I said, kind of like Scientology. Hey, show up, you seem vulnerable. How about we give you a community of friends? Oh, that'll be $2,000 for your communication course. Don't you want to learn to communicate better? If you learn to communicate better, then you'll be able to make real money and people will like you. Yeah, no, I don't like this sort of stuff. If I go to like the church that I went to when I was a kid, for instance, and I go there, they're going to welcome people in and they might want you to tithe a little bit, but they're not going to try to fleece you. They're not going to try to basically have you leverage your retirement money against some promise of something else. This is terrible.
Have you ever gone to a fleece thing like a, we'll sell
like a timeshare thing?
Yeah, I went to a timeshare thing.
Oh, you poor
and
bastard.
Sat down. And no, I did it on purpose, just to have fun. The guy sat down and he says, "Now, how much do you think something like this is worth?" This was back in 1980, 81. He said, "You're probably thinking this is worth $250,000 or something." And I said, "Well, the way I would break that down," and I did a cost analysis level by level, and I already had comps in the back of my mind for what stuff in the area was going for, and I whittled it down and I said, so really the net value of what you're selling the 2 weeks would be something on the order of about $2,000.
Yeah.
And these two guys just sat there and looked at me, and he said, "You don't know what you're talking about." And I said, "Really? What? Don't tell me where I was wrong."
Where's the mistake in my work?
Well, we're selling these for, that's when they went right back to that, and we soon parted ways, and I drove home with a set of defective steak knives.
Hey, Functional. You remember Kirby and her not very many ingredients things? I went back to see what Kirby was up to, and she still sucks. Okay, so 2 ingredient dough, carrot cake, cinnamon rolls.
Oh, 2 ingredients?
2 ingredients. So somehow she's going to take 2 ingredients and turn it into that. So her ingredients
molecules and carrot
puree and self-rising flour. And then there's a filling, which also has other ingredients. So I feel like she's really missed the mission brief here, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because the filling has brown sugar, butter, cinnamon, and other mix-ins, pecans or raisins. But this whole idea of self-rising flour as like a magic ingredient, it's like, no, screw you. Self-rising flour is flour plus salt plus floof powder all together in one thing. It's multiple things pre-mixed. Using a pre-mixed thing does not save you from the count. So how about 2 ingredient brownies? What would be in 2 ingredient brownies? Well,
flour, sugar,
dark chocolate chips, and bananas.
Yeah.
It's no
chocolate banana puree.
It's chocolate banana puree, right? Okay, how about her 2 ingredient sourdough bread rolls? I think you can guess. It's kefir and self-rising flour. First of all, not actually sourdough because there's no sourdough in it. Yeah. I hate this
sourdough
woman.
has to have a culture, doesn't it?
Yeah, just everything.
You have to have actual sourdough dough.
My only comment here is it just says Kirby sucks.
Yeah. I hate her.
Yeah, 4 ingredient or less recipes.
I honestly don't see her as being any different than those 1980s snake oil salesmen, because she is selling a different brand of snake oil, but still snake oil. No, that's not 2 ingredient. No, that's not 3 ingredient healthier brownies.
And we're not just being pedantic, we're just being realistic. Okay, 3 ingredient brownies.
If we look at these dark chocolate, chickpeas and peanut butter, that's not a brownie.
No, it's not even remotely a brownie. Hey, but it's gluten-free.
I don't care.
Do you want people with celiac disease to explode? Do you? Because do you hate people with celiac disease? Clearly you do. Because if you didn't, you would endorse these brownies in quotes.
They're weak and they deserve what they get.
Sorry, what are you saying, Skep?
No, it's be careful. The weak have to fall by the wayside. Let them die.
I'm not saying that for real.
No, not for real. But I mean, like, this
is terrible. This is a scourge on gastronomy. This is just the worst thing. If you want a 1 ingredient recipe, how about a giant steak with maybe some salt?
Yes.
Just make
Other than
food.
that, the only thing you can make with 2 ingredients is baby food.
Purees, preserves.
Yeah, baby food.
Baby food.
Yeah. Well, bread only has like 3 ingredients: water, salt, and flour. You know, that you basically get the starter for free. And if you want to, you could add some milk or some eggs, I suppose, or a little bit of sugar. But still,
if she was more honest and wasn't trying to be this, oh, it's only 2 or 3 or 4 ingredients or whatever, then I could be like, okay, then this is just specialized cooking for people with celiac or people who have a hard time with flour, or it's like specialty recipes. But it's not. She's literally her whole brand is it's these minimalist ingredient dessert things, and it's like, well, no, because like you said, a lot of them are like, oh, we'll just use this muffin mix instead of flour, or use, we have these 2 ingredients for the dough, but that's not the entirety of a cinnamon roll, is it? Okay. Because you have to put the filling, you have to put the icing, and we're already up to 18 different ingredients.
Filling's an ingredient. Well, how about 3 ingredient cake? I do not know what this is going to say. I have not looked at this one, but basically with no fat and no dairy, you're gonna make cake. What goes in your cake? Cake flour, sugar and eggs. Okay. Have fun eating cake that's got no fat in it, moron. All right, I hate this.
And even then, cake flour is not a single ingredient. It's a culmination of ingredients. It's a what do you call it? A pre-mixed thing.
Yeah, I'm also not saying that if somebody wants to make
prepackaged,
if somebody wants to make a sheet cake with Duncan Hines cake mix and hand it to me on a plate, I will say please and thank you. I mean,
sure,
yeah,
but they're not going to tell you, oh, it was one ingredient.
Yeah,
because they're not jerk offs like Kirby here.
Yeah,
I don't have any problem with Duncan Hines actually.
Yeah,
perfectly acceptable for like making stuff for like school.
So Radio
it's
Shack
perfectly good for purpose.
Your kid comes up to you and says, I need to have a bunch of cupcakes for school. That's go to.
Yeah. They're fit for purpose, and they actually are pretty good depending on the brand. Like some are better than others, but there's a reason why those things are on the store shelves is because they do have a viable, tasty recipe. But Skep's not going to show up to the school and be like, "Hey, these were only 2 ingredients." Like,
no.
That's the part that really irks me, not the recipes themselves, because the recipes themselves, some of them are okay, but don't lie to me. Just don't lie to me.
Yeah.
So, earbuds.
Yeah. So Radio Shack is back with a vintage turntable. So people have actually been putting stuff out under the Radio Shack brand. And I feel so weirdly nostalgic about this. I almost want to do this, except I don't want to destroy my records. But I've checked. There are stuff being marketed as Radio Shack products, Skep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They bought the name. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Or they licensed the name actually. It's still a going concern.
Apparently it's sold out already. $119 for this highly sophisticated thing, and it's got Radio Shack written right on it.
There'll be another run.
I feel like this is kind of a terrible thing to do.
What? To
sully the fine Radio Shack name. First of all, it doesn't even say realistic on it.
I agree.
It should say realistic, right? That was their audio brand. These people
actually, this is actually pretty neat because the Radio Shack Vintage Turntable offers more than just vinyl playback. It includes an AM/FM radio, compatibility with CD, MP3, CDR, CDRW discs, and a slot-in cassette player, providing multiple ways to enjoy your music collection. The ability to record vinyl, CD, cassette, and aux audio directly to a USB or SD card in MP3 format ensures you can preserve and enjoy your music on modern devices. I think that's a smart idea. They're obviously adding some embellishment with the fake wood paneling and whatever to make it a nice sort of looking product. Like, hey, look, it's kind of got that vintage like aesthetic without being vintage. But its purpose is to take from the vinyl, from your cassettes that you may have had since forever, and record onto digital formats, which, for the layman, like I could probably do that much cheaper. Well, actually $120, who knows? Anyway, I could probably do that with my PC, but for the layman who doesn't know much about technology, this might be a decent alternative.
Well, I remember when people started doing this sort of thing, right? And ideally what you do is you find a friend who's got a really nice turntable. So you can get this off your vinyl and then put your vinyl away somewhere safe, right? Because cheap turntables just rip up the vinyl. That's not really great. The thing that used to be hard was eliminating the clicks and pops and record noise. And thanks to better algorithms and things now, you can scan this in, run it through software. The software will clean up any of the noise from the surface defects, and you'll actually get something pretty decent at the other end. Because like a pop or a scratch in a record has a very specific sort of signature to it in terms of what you actually see. So you can filter that out without ruining the sound coming off of the albums.
What software do you use for cleaning stuff, Harry?
Oh, I have all kinds of software. Are you talking about just specifically for ripping albums?
Yeah. Exactly.
I actually have a bunch of albums that I've set aside and a few different turntables, and I haven't actually taken the time to rip any of them.
I've got about 300 albums that I need to.
I have a mid-century, a really nice mid-century dual turntable that I got from a friend. And it's got my favorite cartridge already connected to it, a Stanton 881S.
Like a 1965.
Well, this is closer to 80s type thing, but it's really nice turntable. But I'm such a perfectionist about this sort of thing that I will usually hunt down something like on HD.
Cartridge.
Well, I'll go to HD tracks and try to find something where somebody has gone back to the original master recordings and then scanned it in 192 kilohertz. I'm a very, very, very bad snob when it comes to audio. You know how I said I'll eat cake out of a box? Absolutely. But when it comes to audio, I'm terrible. I am that guy.
Yeah. No, I used to be that guy. I mean, I had a Sony turntable, and it was top of the line that you could buy back in 1974. Had the KLH speakers. Had a
I like KLH speakers.
Kenwood I had a Sony amp and a Kenwood preamp. I think that. Anyway, it was awesome. You know, it was called. They used to call it the Ensign's stereo system. You know, everybody who graduated from Naval Academy or OC time or ROTC, they all went out and bought expensive stereos, and they all looked like that basically. Have a Sony turntable or a dual turntable, or any one of a number of stereo stuff.
Well, I've owned a lot of good stereo stuff, but when I sort of started on this journey, the first thing I did was I went to a very high-end audio place and listened to some speakers that I shit you not were $200,000. And I'm like, okay, so this is what's possible. Okay, this is the upper end.
$200,000.
$200,000 for a pair of these speakers.
How long do they stay that good?
Dude, they were... Okay, you can look these up. These are called Hill Plasmatronic speakers. And you have to actually supply them with tanks of helium. A laser ionizes the helium and creates a sphere of plasma. And then the audio going into the speakers modulates the sphere of plasma to create sound waves. These are the most ridiculous speakers you'll ever run into. That was what I heard those. And I'm like, okay, clearly won't be doing this because I'm just a little kid. But I heard the Acostats and some of the electrostatic speakers are good. So then it's like, okay, so now within my kid's budget, what can I actually do that I'm still going to enjoy? Right? So in a way, it's sort of like, here's the nicest car in the world. You're never going to be able to afford this. Now get on with your life and find something that you can actually live with. So I think it was good to kind of get that out of the way, because otherwise I would have just started small and just kept building and building until I went bankrupt. It's like, here, you'll never reach this goal. Don't even try. Now go build something that you actually like listening to. Am I making any sense at all? Probably not.
I'm just looking at this speaker. This is an amazing thing.
It is an amazing thing, but people in the chat can't see it. So people in the chat can't see it. So it's probably not very nice of us to talk about this right now.
All right. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along.
That's pretty freaking awesome.
It's pretty freaking awesome. Hill Plasmatronics.
Man.
Every 300 hours, you have to put a new helium tank on it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's practical.
That good, huh?
That good. Let's see.
In my college days, I had a pair of Tech 12s, Techniques 1200 turntables.
All of Techniques turntables are great. Belt drive?
Yeah, of course. Did some DJing, so
that's
those
why
were the
I
standard.
asked, yeah. You don't want to start scratching on a direct drive turntable.
No. I tried that once. My mother was not happy.
Okay. Hey, would you like to talk about a dwarf planet?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, scientists found a possible new dwarf planet. It could spell bad news for Planet 9 fans. So there are people out there that really want there to be another big-ass planet to make all of the motion of the things in the outer solar system work. They're theorizing something that's bigger than Earth but smaller than Neptune. And that would be Planet 9. Well, Planet 9's not looking quite so good because we found a new big-ass dwarf planet. It's not as big as Pluto, but it has like this insanely eccentric orbit. It goes from like 45 astronomical units up to all the way out into the Oort cloud. And it's not a comet.
Oh, wow.
This is like a planet. And if there was a big Neptune-ish sized thing floating around out in the Oort cloud, this thing would not have the orbit that it has. That's essentially the précis of what's going on with this thing. But it's like 7,000 miles across. It's a pretty big thing. So around 5,000 trans-Neptunian objects have been discovered until now, but the latest discovery may be one of the most important, known as 2017 OF subscript 201. It is currently 90.5 AU away from the sun, but its orbit brings it as close as 4.14 billion miles. Okay, from our star, and it is far away to a whopping 244 billion kilometers.
Wow.
For the vast majority of its 24,256 year orbit, it is too far away to be seen with current telescopes. Yeah, but it's a big-ass dwarf planet. And unfortunately, none of us will live long enough to see it get closer than this. It is moving away.
Yeah. Something like that is just...
Yeah.
Something like that is going to lose its cohesion with our solar system, it relatively to, space in a relatively short amount of time, and it's just going to be gone. It's going to become a rogue planet.
Yeah, well, this is actually...
But that's interesting. Like a new... The things that we learn, that we discover in our own solar system still to this day amazes me.
Yeah. Well, space is big, and there's a lot going on. And as the technology gets better, more and more stuff becomes accessible for us to look at.
I wonder if they're going to take the James Webb and take a picture of this.
I doubt it has an atmosphere or anything where the Webb would really give us useful information.
But we don't know. So my point is just to take a look at it, be like, take one shot and be like, oh, okay, nothing's there. Great. I don't think that would be a waste of time, because on the, 0.0001% chance that we do see something new or that we wouldn't have guessed from this planet, air quotes planet, then, maybe it picked up some stuff from the Oort cloud and now it's got aliens. I don't know. It developed life.
Well, here's a very abrupt change. A very abrupt change. California County accused of using drones to spy on residents. Yeah, I think it was Sonoma County. Yeah, Sonoma County in Northern California has been flying drones all over the damn place and issuing citations and just generally it's like an aerial Karen. They're just running around, poking their nose into all sorts of stuff. And it started as, hey, let's find this pot, but it's turned into, let's just find people for everything.
That's not good.
No, it's not good.
That's not good at all.
It's an absolutely ridiculous thing to do. So it's accused of deploying hundreds of drone flights over residents in a runaway spying operation that has violated the constitutional rights, yada, yada, yada. The North Bay County of Sonoma initially started the 6-year-old drone program to track illegal cannabis cultivation, but the lawsuit alleges that officials have since turned it into a widespread program for catching unrelated code violations at residential properties and levying millions of dollars in fines. The program has captured 5,600 images during more than 700 flights. Yeah, this seems like a little bit troublesome, doesn't it, Skep?
Yeah, I'm thinking about Mr. Fourth Amendment here. Any imputed or enumerated right to privacy that extends from the Fourth Amendment looks like it's going to be challenged by the fact that we've always considered airspace above us to be free space. Anybody can go there. It's like going around someone. It's not touching.
Well, above something and below something. So above what is like 50 meters, it's often free space that anybody can use. But then, but you have to be low enough that the FAA doesn't start having a say in things.
Right. Exactly. Yes. They what is it, 100 feet or 100 feet? Certain.
Well, we did.
How it's coded.
Sorry, go ahead. Functional.
Would this not, would the intent play a central theme to this opposition? Because, like they say, it's basically warrantless search.
Well,
and even if
It depends.
Because I know yeah, of course. Well, I don't know San Francisco, that area. I just know that like something here, there's that, with if the law enforcement sees something within plain view, yes, but and here's where it differs. If I was on, say, the ground level and my curtains were open and I was sitting there, and let's say pot was still illegal, and I was sitting in my living room smoking a joint. The officer could not bust me because it's still considered like a protected space because it's my residence. So it's hard to deal with because the drone technology has escaped the growth of the law. So that's where I'm kind of going with this. Like, if I was growing it in my backyard and a cop happened to be tall enough that he just looked over my fence, or I didn't have a fence or whatever, and it's in plain view, that's a different story. Then I know that they can act on it because it's not considered warrantless search. So please.
So it's complicated, and I am not a lawyer, okay, but it involves a number. It involves a number of concepts. One of them is something called curtilage, right, which is the private area surrounding the exterior of your domicile.
Right.
And there are rules about who can step foot on them, what they can observe from there, and of course what constitutes an exigent circumstance that would let them come into your home and come after you. So if you were openly doing something illegal and they saw it through the window while standing on, right outside your door, in the U.S., they would absolutely have the right to go in and stop you, and to cite you in a lot of cases. Now, there was a case we talked about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, where the police decided they wanted to keep an eye on somebody because they thought there might be drugs being set up. So they set up a camera on a pole across the street from the house. And the courts actually found that, no, it was absolutely fine for them to do months-long continuous surveillance of that house from the images taken on that public, on basically in the public space where they'd mounted that camera.
Right.
I don't particularly like it. This feels almost more like a political problem. Like the voters should express their displeasure with the county of Sonoma vigorously at the ballot box. Because even if it is legal, they really shouldn't be doing this. It's like, okay, you're trying to solve a problem because there's some drug issue and you're looking for drugs that are being think. That's one thing.
On your side.
Yeah, you need to basically let the city know that this is a completely unacceptable use of government resources and to get off their dick.
Baloney.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is baloney.
It is baloney. I don't know if legally it's baloney, but it's baloney and they should stop it.
Yep.
It's not really good for your property values if you know that, oh, by the way, we don't have an HOA, but there are regular drone flights going over just in case you decide to have a barbecue on a spare the air day or something. I mean, it's just really heavy-handed.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So get a house near an airport, live with the noise, and just be glad that the FAA does not let you fly drones near an airport.
Yeah. Suck it.
I mean, I think that because it was hidden from public knowledge, like if it was actively hidden. Oh, sorry, I got a delivery showing up.
Oh, okay. But it sounds like somebody's back.
If it was actively hidden, then I think that that's a bit of a problem, because the resident should have known that this program is going on so that they could respond in kind to their local, here we call them ombudsman, local representative, to be like, we don't agree with this. Now we're going to take action to sort of nip this problem in the bud, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's sort of come to light, I think that there will be a grouping of people. Whether or not the ACLU or the legal system takes action is irrelevant to my point here. I think that enough people might come together to sort of protest this and say, no, we don't like this idea. We're not a fan of this idea. So we'd like you to stop, please, sort of thing. Or we might not reelect you, sheriff, or whatever.
All right. Well, I have another another thing. Now, this is sort of us complaining about YouTube, so I didn't want to put too much stuff sort of in writing. So we're gonna bite the hand that's graciously giving us a streaming platform a little bit here, because I think YouTube is in the wrong on this. Okay, so there's a guy, stand-up dude. Guy's name is Jeff Geerling. He is a good guy. Okay, and he's one of these guys who has solid tech skills and does a really great job of doing projects and things that people learn from, particularly things involving Raspberry Pis and other small, very accessible things.
Channel.
Well, there's a couple of them, but Jeff Geerling does a lot of projects for, like, here's a Raspberry Pi or a cluster of Raspberry Pis, turn it into a home automation system. And he did one thing where he actually talked about how to set up a home media server using a Raspberry Pi. So you don't have to buy one. You can set it up. You put all your media on there, rip your DVDs, whatever. And he intentionally did not tell anybody how to circumvent copy protection on the DVDs. So in terms of like any of the knowledge you needed to basically overcome copy protection, he left that out of the video. But what ends up happening is he ended up getting a community guidelines strike because he put out that's a good question. And YouTube even reviewed it and then still decided, no, you still get a community guidelines strike. He said, I purposely avoid demonstrating any of the tools that are popularly used to circumvent purchasing movie, TV, and other media content, or any tools that automatically slurp up YouTube content. In fact, in my own house for multiple decades, I have purchased physical media and have legally required content on my NAS. Streaming services used to be a panacea, but are now fragmented, mostly yada, yada, yada. But this morning, I was finishing up work on a video about a new mini Pi cluster. I got a cheerful email from YouTube saying my video on Libre Elec on the Pi 5 was removed because it promoted dangerous or harmful content that describes how to get unauthorized or free access to audio or audiovisual content. And he didn't do any of that. He didn't do any of that stuff. So one day later, they reinstated the video.
Well, they did? Really?
It says, which I presume is a human review process. I didn't wish to make noise, yada, yada, yada. Go forth and self-host all the things. Okay, this wasn't my first rodeo. The thing is that they... in that case, I was happy to see my appeal granted within an hour of the strike being placed on the channel. Okay, so I thought this case will be similar. That was a previous thing. So this video that was taken down had been up for over a year. It had millions of views. The video didn't promote any of the things they're talking about. So he went for an appeal on this one, and they said, nope, screw you. You don't get to have that video. There's Jeff. Look, Jeff wouldn't hurt anybody. It's Jeff. He's a good guy.
The sweetheart.
So now his stuff is up on Floatplane and other places, and it's not on YouTube. He didn't do anything wrong, but when it comes to this sort of moneyed stuff where you start getting into copyright stuff, the MPAA and these other people, they don't really care about your constitutional rights or fairness or anything else. And YouTube isn't interested in fighting for your rights with them. It's much easier just to copy strike you if you screw up.
Exactly. YouTube always will fold to the path of least resistance.
Yeah, well, they are a business.
They are a business, and they're. I think they're acting rationally.
I think they provide a really great service. That's why we keep using them. But at the same time, I see stuff like my buddy Jeff here getting the raw end of the deal from YouTube, and it irritates me.
Visual signs of being.
Yeah, Jeff Geerling. Geerling. So if you're even a little bit technically inclined, he has great projects. He'll do crazy, stupid stuff, though, like take a Raspberry Pi and then stick a NVIDIA 4090 GPU on it.
Sorry about that.
Which is just dumb because it's only got a 1x wide PCI bus attached to it. Yeah, Jeff.
My grandson made a media server out of and used a Raspberry Pi as a part of that when we were designing it.
Well, Raspberry Pis and Banana Pis and a bunch of the low power things are pretty great. But there's other things you can get. Gosh, what is it from? I can't remember the name of the company. I could post it if somebody's interested, but there are some Rockchip enabled command module things that you can make little clusters out of that are
Nice.
that are pretty great. So like $250, you get 32
Easy to
gigs
set
of
up.
RAM. It's great.
Now, I'm going to have to dissent and say I do not like YouTube. I think that they are far too
autocratic.
Yeah. And at one point they were a very good platform, but I think that their time is long gone. It's just a matter of like the normies go to YouTube. A lot of content creators are still using YouTube, but that's just because they haven't had that hit like Jeff here has, or like so many content creators we might know of in our day-to-day sort of consuming of content. But even somebody as harmless as Jeff, or I don't know if you're familiar with Jay's 2 Cents.
Heard of him.
Computer channel. He's from California.
I've seen that.
Does reviews of gear and stuff. But even he's been struck by for like I think one like 2-3 years ago there was music playing at Micro Center, and so he got caught for that. And then there was another one where it was completely out of the realm of normalcy, and it was something like a harmful content strike, but like he was talking about GPU overheating. So solutions to cooling problems for GPUs. And it's like, there's nothing in there. There's no there. But of course, as we know in this sort of space, this new media space where content creators within the first 24 hours, they make on average, give or take a few percentage points, but about 85 to 90% of their viewership comes within that first 24 hours for these new videos, for the constant video creators, because people watch their they get the notification, oh, there's the new video, I'm going to watch it. But if within the first 3-4 hours, that video is taken down, well, all that work is now out the window.
I like it when I'm watching a video and they take it down while I'm watching it. That's super fun. That happened to me just this morning. That happened to me this morning. I was watching it was Bridget Fetisi. She was talking about the whole Elon Trump thing. And I was just looking for material for the show. Okay, and I was watching Bridget, and she was doing her little thing. I like Bridget. She's a good writer, and she's fun.
She's a fun watch.
And so she was talking about it, and like halfway through the thing where she's making jokes about Elon and Trump, it's like, oh, this video is no longer available. Wait, what? It doesn't show up in my history. I try scrolling. It's like, it's just dead.
First they came for the political
they nuked it,
and I said nothing.
And it was political satire. That's all it was. It was straight on political satire. But they just nerfed it.
Yeah.
Right while I was watching it.
Well, the question is, but the question is that is it actually the computer doing it? Or is it hate bands hitting the button so many times that it gets it taken down, and YouTube's just like, well, we're going to go with what we think is the populace who are picking this to get taken down.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like, I understand where it's coming from, but at the same time, we don't know if it actually is an AI system catching it. Now, with the music stuff, that's been known for a while.
Yeah.
It's the reason why they tell you not to film in public places like stores where they play music. And that's the reason why a lot of stores, including Micro Center, play it louder. This way people can't record in there. I don't agree with it, but that's what they do. But I've seen Reddit whipped up hate mobs that get videos taken down within 20 minutes of them being up. Because they just mass report the video.
Nobody in their right mind hates Jeff Geerling, though. Jeff's a good dude.
I know, but you're not. You're looking at this from your point of view of that you don't know what someone's just like. Well, this is talking about piracy, and they don't finish the rest of the video, so they just hit the button. Like, I'm not saying that's what happened in this situation, but there's too much of a black and white thing going on here when we don't know the semantics of the situation.
Well, who was it to just mention Micro Center? Was it you?
That it was Functional first, and then me.
Okay, so we used to. I have talked about this before. In Silicon Valley, we used to have Fry's Electronics. Oh my God, that was so fantastic! I would
my God,
I would get off
the days of Fry's.
I would get off work, or just take a break, because I mean there really was no getting off of work when you're starting your own business, right? And I would just go to Fry's, and I would go and I'd get like a pastrami sandwich or something, and I could just wander around and just buy some random USB thing that had no reason to exist. It was just like, this is my break. Just wander around Fry's, figuring out what new thing
Which Fry's did you go to?
Oh, I went to a bunch of fries. God, which one didn't I go to?
Did you go to the one in Hayward?
Okay, I don't go to the East Bay because I don't feel like dying. But I went.
Okay.
I've been to Palo Alto, San Jose, the other San Jose.
You've been to that one?
Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, the original one in Sunnyvale. Yeah,
I've never been to the original one in Sunnyvale. Just never had occasion to go that way.
it was really small, but you could literally spend an hour trying to find a parking place and then spend 2 hours waiting to check out, like during the holidays. It was crazy. But that's not important right now. So we're getting a Micro Center. And we had a Micro Center before, but it went out of business. Okay. There was already a Micro Center here, and things have gotten so crappy that now with Fry's gone, Micro Center is coming back and people are trying to be excited. It's like, I already intentionally didn't shop at this place because I didn't like it back in the day. And now it's coming back. This is like a bad ex-girlfriend trying to contact you.
But is it the same people?
It's Micro Center.
There's a lot of people who like Micro Center though, Harry.
That's only because they've never been to Fry's.
Yeah.
Well, Honey Fries is gone.
I know.
You're gonna have to accept that.
I know this is a me problem, and that
yes.
As a home PC enthusiast, I liked Micro Centers, how they do business. Like they have a lot of stuff that's the boxes are open, so you can look at the towers, you can look at some of the gear, and inspect it for yourself. And from what I've heard, because I've never actually stepped foot in one, the prices were, reasonable for what they are. I wish we had something like that up here. The closest we had was Canada Computers, which is basically like a storefront like Micro Center or Newegg or something. But the problem is Amazon prices are so much better. Not so much better, but 5, 10, 15% better than having to schlep all the way to this storefront and then go buy it and take it home and blah blah blah. So it's really killed the industry up here. It's kind of depressing, but yeah, and it's also nice that they have guys like the Knowledge Bar that you could be like, hey, I need a new GPU and I've got this motherboard and blah 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 blah. What can I, and they'll sort of help you out and give you some suggestions. They've also got the repair place, which Canada Computers also does. But again, the sheer juggernaut that is Amazon, if you get a computer component that doesn't fit, but you've already seeded it into your tower, they'll refund your money, no problem. They'll be like, yeah, sure, send it back.
Oh no! Like I'm going to set every electronic person off in this chat.
Oh, I'm already ready to lash out over 5 things that have been said. But go on.
Oh, jeez.
The only computer store that I had that's around where I live. Oh God, it's gonna set everybody off. Is Best Buy. That's it. We had a Circuit City until Circuit City screwed up the plot. Then we lost Circuit City.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish I had a Micro Center. That would be awesome. But yeah, no, yeah.
Nobody misses CompUSA though.
Oh,
I have no idea what that is. No idea.
Nobody remembers it fondly.
We had
I when I was distributing QVT 102A, those were the guys I bought from, and I was buying wholesale from them, and then setting up Unix terminal sessions.
What was great about CompUSA was they would buy something, they would make a note of what the price was when they bought it. And that price, no matter what happened to that store could, it didn't matter. They would never really budge on that until they finally snapped and decided to make it go away. And occasionally you could get something on clearance, but they did not adjust prices as markets changed. So if they bought like a stick of memory for $500, they were going to sell it to you for $650. It didn't matter that memory prices had cratered and they were half as much. They just did not care.
They really tried to insist on price leadership when they were out of price leadership.
Yeah, they were nuts. Although I did buy, well, it doesn't really matter. It's not important. I was about to say some really boring things. Yeah, I am a bit of an elitist. There's a place that I actually do business with called Central Computer. And they have nothing but the finest Asus products that are brought in from Shenzhen. But other than that, they bring in stuff. They've got about like 12 stores around the Bay Area, and they're very, very good. And if I'm buying stuff online, yeah, I will buy from Amazon, but functional, you seriously need to check out Newegg. Because Newegg has...
you forget, different country, and yes...
I think they have Canadian shipping, don't they?
They do. There's newegg.ca. However, Harry, the price differential from Newegg Canada to Newegg US and Amazon, they just can't compete. On average, you're looking at 15 to 20% cheaper from Amazon because of...
For the same part?
For the exact same part. And I know that because I was just looking and I just replaced my CPU, as you know, my motherboard, my cooler, and all these other components that I was doing price comparisons all across the board. And some of my friends who are American were sending me links to newegg.com and Amazon.com. And so I was like, I wonder what the price is, because they would show me something and be like, look, this is on sale from Newegg. And then I would look at newegg.ca and be like, holy shit, is that really the price? And then I go to Amazon.ca and be like, oh no, that's the price. What the hell's going on? And I don't know what Newegg is doing, but there's got to be something behind the scenes that I'm not privy to outside of the stuff that we know that's going on, like different tariffs and other types of things. But it's affecting one and not the other. So I don't know. Could be their supplier. Could be it could just be Amazon eating the cost on some of these things. I don't know.
Okay, there's one thing. Oh, sorry,
go. That I lived closer to the border for you, because then I would
just chuck it over.
Yeah.
Oh,
trebuchet.
Jenna P sends me stuff all the time. I just be like, hey,
God
go to Target and get me this thing,
Yeah.
and then she sends it to me. She shows me, she'll send me a photo of the receipt. I'll be like, there's your $40.
Yeah.
God bless her.
So
yeah, she's a wonderful person.
Thing you need to worry about when you buy stuff from Amazon, and actually to a lesser extent Newegg, when you buy like a disk drive, okay, for any given batch of disk drives that they sell, and this is just an example, it's other things too, they know what the failure rate is in that disk drive, in that batch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you can buy what seemingly looks like the same disk drive, but end up getting something that's from a batch with a higher failure rate, but pay less money for it. So you have to be really careful. Sometimes when something is too cheap or too good to be true, it is too good to be true, and you're actually better off paying more. Disk drives and memory in particular are like that.
Nope.
CPUs don't tend to fail that much.
Nope, Harry, that's my gambling. That's my crapshoot. That's what we're gonna do. Just
That's right.
Here we go. Woo!
Timu, here I come.
But
God no.
the exchange rate,
All the light at that.
again, between, say, if I'm comparing Amazon and Newegg versus the Canadian counterparts, the exchange rate is there with Amazon.ca, but it's inflated with Newegg, and I can't.
Screw those people.
Again, I don't know why. Like I said, it's on average 15 to 20%.
Well, there may be things on Newegg that you can't get on Amazon. So, but if you can get it on cheaper on Amazon and it's the same quality, by all means,
I'm thinking it's just
cheaper.
because of local distributor.
I don't think they have as many distribution centers as Amazon does up there.
Oh, I'm confident.
Yeah, because it's Amazon. They're a juggernaut.
Yeah. Remember the old Tiger PC days, Skep?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I bought memory from Tiger PC at some point. You haven't really lived.
Lost Cyprus.
You haven't really lived until you've stood in line to pay $20 for a single CD-ROM read-write thing.
I've done
Been
that.
there.
I have an old one that I bought in the early 2000s. It's a Sony one. Still have it. It's right there.
I'm talking about just
In my
one piece
closet.
of media. I was working on a project where I had to send betas of some content to these people every day, and that it was almost impossible to get media for CD burners. It's like $20 per piece of media, but I got it from Central Computer, so it was fine. All right, so now
There
we've
you go.
officially become the most boring stream on YouTube.
Woo!
I don't think we're going to have to rub it. Yeah, we're number one. We're talking about how we saved money on past PC purchases. Yes, we're so good.
Oh man,
Is anybody still here?
We still have 8 watchers. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Thank you, lurkers.
I think
death from boredom.
I think they're just using like a mouse shaker thing, and that they're off waiting for DoorDash to deliver a burrito or something.
You calling me out?
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, shake that mouse.
I feel seen.
All right, so I don't think there's anything else that we need to talk about. There's plenty more in the spreadsheet, but you know what? It'll still be there next week.
It will be.
And maybe even be replaced by something better.
It's a pretty good shoe.
Yeah. So, oh, we got to do one more. We got to do one more.
All right.
I got to make fun of this woman. San Jose doctor in spicy Dragon Balls lawsuit against Los Gatos Thai restaurant drops lawyer represents self. Okay, so let's just unpack this. So the restaurant's called Coup de Thai in Los Gatos.
Nice.
Okay, a San Jose doctor who sued a Los Gatos restaurant claiming its Dragon Balls appetizer was so spicy it burned her internally has dropped her lawyer and is representing herself in a court case. Unpronounceable Walia in a 2023 filed a lawsuit in Santa Clara County Superior Court alleging that she incurred permanent injuries and will forever be damaged by the $11 chicken meatball dish at Coup de Thai in downtown Los Gatos. The appetizer burned Walia's vocal cords, esophagus, and the inside of her right nostril, the lawsuit claims. I feel like she was eating it incorrectly. Now, she's a neurologist, and you'd think she would sort of know better. Now, the dish was labeled on the menu as extremely hot. Here's this thing that if you don't like spicy food, don't order it this way. So she decided, hey, can you bring me this incredibly spicy dish, but not spicy? And they said, well, we'll tone down the spice a little bit, but it's still pretty spicy. And she's like, I'm a neurologist. I know what I'm doing. Just bring me these things. So then she gets her spicy food, which she doesn't like. And now she's involved in some lawsuit. And she had to drop her lawyer, which gives you a pretty good idea of how strong her suit probably is. You know what that conversation was like, right, Skep?
Oh my God.
The lawyer's like, we have no case here. You need to just let this go. Yada, yada, yada. And she's
You're
just
not
like,
careful, you're going to get a countersuit on malicious lawsuit.
Okay,
it's going to be money out of your pocket.
Do it.
Well,
yeah, especially in California, the king state of countersuits.
I want to try these meatballs, honestly. I want to go to Los Gatos.
I was going to say, when
are we going? Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, boys, go.
Honestly, I didn't know there was a good Thai restaurant in Los Gatos, but I'm all in.
The name alone.
Yeah, I love the name.
Yeah.
I can just picture Harry and Skep walking up. Yes, for two? Yeah, meatballs. Would you like to sit first? No, meatballs.
Spicy balls. Bring us the spicy balls.
The spicy balls.
That's a spicy meatball. No, I really do want to. I've actually had a lot of really good food experiences in Los Gatos. It's a great place to go eat. It's a nice little town, really.
Nice little town.
Actually, the first time I had proper Chinese food and enjoyed it was actually in Los Gatos. Really fantastic stuff. I mean, there was a lot of food that my grandmother was a really good cook when it came to like Englishy sort of things, but she didn't really have a lot of breadth in her cooking stuff. So I still remember fondly this time in my life where it's like, I'm going to drive to Los Gatos and eat a kind of food I've never had before. And this happened on multiple occasions. So I've had nothing but good culinary experiences in Los Gatos.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Kitty cats are going to get you.
First time I ever had sushi, Los Gatos. First time I ever had good Chinese food, Los Gatos. Gosh, what else? I think, there's a number of things like that. And I remember getting in my SVO Mustang and driving to the California Cafe in Los Gatos and having this meal that was like better than anything I'd had in a long time or ever, because I was young, like 18 or something, or 17. And I drove to another town and said, I'm going to have this fantastic meal. It was pretty fantastic. This was when the sort of the California cuisine thing was really becoming more mainstream.
Yeah.
God, it was good. Anyway, I'm getting very nostalgic now. This has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. The zoo's closed. Good night, everybody.